So here we're going to see how we multiply a whole number by a fraction. So if we multiply a whole number by a fraction, always look for one thing. So what you look for is look at the whole number right here on the bottom of the fraction. Can they reduce? If they can, reduce them. If they can't, then you're left with one choice, is multiply the whole number only to the top of the fraction, and the 5 stays the same. To look at it a bit differently, it's 3/1, if you wish, times 2/5. Now I cannot reduce this way, so there's no way to reduce. Then you just multiply tops together and bottoms together. Some students like doing it this way. Some students, they want to see that there's a 1 underneath the 3, and that works better for them. I personally just do it from here. So here, 8 times 3/4. So you look at the whole number and you look at the bottom of the fraction. Do they reduce? Yes, the 4 goes into itself once and goes into 8 twice. Now you have 2 times 3 is 6. And you have 1 on the bottom. Everything is over 1, so we don't have to write that 1 on the bottom. How about this third one? Again, a whole number times a fraction. We always look at the whole number on the bottom of the fraction. Do they reduce? Yes, they do. 3 goes into itself once, it goes into 15, 5 times. And therefore, 1 times 2 is 2 on the top, and you still have the 5 on the bottom. One thing I want you to notice is when you multiply a whole number by a fraction is the same as multiplying a fraction by a whole number. So when we're dividing, we cannot divide fraction by a whole number unless we change this to multiplication. When we divide, we write this as 3/5, but we change the division to multiplication. The 2 is over 1, so what we need to do, flip that and make it 1/2. So that's a rule that you must follow every time you divide the fractions. You always change the division to multiplication and flip the divisor. We call this the reciprocal. And the reciprocal is basically a reciprocal of fraction. If you have 2/3, then the reciprocal will be 3/2. Now, once you do that, again, you always look if you could reduce. Can you reduce 3 and 2? No, you can't. And 1, it's reduced to its lowest term there. So now, if you cannot reduce, just multiply the tops together. 3 times 1 is 3. And multiply the bottoms together, and you get 3/10. How about this question right here? So again, you write 2/7 the same way. The 4 is over 1, so you change it to multiplication, and I'm going to use that fancy word, and change it to multiplication, and do the reciprocal of this, which is just flipping the 4/1 and making it 1/4. Now, always when you multiply in fraction, always look diagonally if you could reduce. So the 2 and 4, 2 goes into itself once, and 2 goes into 4 twice. Now I cannot reduce anymore. Multiply the tops together, you get 1. Multiply the bottoms together, you get 14. That's your final answer. Here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep the 6 the same, change the division to multiplication, and reciprocate this number or the reciprocal of this number, or just flip it. And that gives you 4/3. You remember from the multiplication, I don't really write this over 1. You don't have to. Always when you're multiplying a whole number by a fraction, look at the whole number on the bottom of the fraction. If they reduce, reduce them. So 3 goes into itself once, 3 goes into 6 twice. And now you just have 1 on the bottom that we don't write, but the top, you multiply the tops together. 2 times 4 is 8. And that's how you multiply and divide whole numbers by fractions, and vice versa. With the COVID-19 situation, a lot of students are doing school online, and also students are not getting enough in school because of the limit of time and being indoors and so on. So students are missing some concepts and missing some parts of the curriculum. Definitely try to enrich yourself, because once this situation COVID-19 is over, you're responsible to know the math from the previous year. Look for some resources and try to dig deeper than what's being covered in school right now. Also, high school students who are graduating this year, make sure you enrich yourself, because next year when you go to university, if you're doing any math, calculus, or first year calculus, you definitely need to know more than what you've been taught this year. Due to the circumstances, lots of schools are not able to cover most of the material. They're trying to cover the most important, but students have to work harder on their own, dig deep, and understand things better. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.